you guys for joining. I'm so excited to connect with you all and talk to you a little bit about our experience here in New Orleans, as well as some thoughts and tips and suggestions for things to do right now during this time. So I'm excited. It's early in the morning. The birds are chirping out here, but we're going to have a good time.
Thank you for getting up early. I know we're 9 a.m. Eastern and you're on Central Time, so you had to get up a little earlier.
Good.
Certainly appreciate you making the time to join our live chat. So let's jump in, Herneshia. So we obviously all know what's happening in the world right now. We know that there's a lot of change, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's also a lot of people just trying to figure it out. There are folks both at the leadership level who are experiencing successes, folks who are still like really trying to figure it out. There's a lot of questions around like equity, what's happening right now, what's going to happen, what does this mean for leadership? And we would just love for you to, just jump in with some of your thoughts around that.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the work that I'm actually doing right now is with the work that I do for New Schools for New Orleans is being able to really focus on two things. One is just thinking about holistically talent. As you mentioned earlier, New Orleans is 100% charter. Every school in New Orleans public school is a charter school. So with that comes a lot of great opportunities. With that also comes a ton of challenges. And one of the challenges that we face within our region, and I'm sure is replicated across the country, is talent, trying to secure our talent with teachers, developing strategically our leaders, and then building pipelines so that people feel like they have an opportunity to develop and also aspire and move on to bigger and greater roles if that's something that they desire to do. So as all of this is happening, I think as an organization, we've had to really take a step back and think about how this is going to impact talent long term, right? We actually think, based off of some conversations and data that we've had, that this is actually going to help our retention in terms of leaders and teachers as we move into next year. People are looking for stability and consistency right now, right? So people are not hopping and moving to different cities or networks or schools like we've seen before in the past. So from a positive standpoint, we really do think that there's going to be a bit of consistency in terms of retaining teachers and also being able to retain leaders as well. I would love to hear any thoughts or any comments that people have, specifically as it relates to like talent, teacher retention, development of leaders. Definitely feel free to pop that up.
Thank you for that. So, hey, no investor needed. E. Johnson, if only you knew CP. Thanks, Cynthia, for joining us this morning. As if any comments, if anything is really resonating with you, we'd love for you to just, push the little heart button. Don't be afraid to comment, to ask questions. There's again, Herneshia is the executive director for New Schools of New Orleans, and she just talked a little bit about just the charter movement there and what this means for retention. So if you are a person who is like, yeah, that resonated with me, I'm actually looking for stability, for consistency, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're a person who's like totally okay with moving around, also let's hear your thoughts as well. So let's continue with that. I think folks are just tuned in and listening.
Yeah, absolutely. So my biggest suggestion right now, some of the work that we do with IDEA is that we actually coach and mentor school leaders from across the country. So it's been really interesting talking to leaders from LA to New Jersey to Atlanta to Miami and really hearing about what's happening in their regions and where leaders' minds are right now. Because this so suddenly, we really didn't have an opportunity to plan for it. Like if you think about how all of this rolled out to even our governors, our mayors, and definitely down to our school districts, we found out days, maybe 2 or 3 days before that
a lot of people like they're like, yep, people are agreeing.
Yeah. Even my son, he went to school on Friday and we got an email like this is going to be their last day for a while. So there was just not a lot that we can do in terms of preparing our students, our families, our communities for this immediate shutdown that took place. So my biggest suggestion right now to schools have been like 3 tips. My first tip has been around thinking about how we salvage the academic instruction that was supposed to continue this year. Across the country, we now know that there will not be federal or state testing that is happening. So this impacts every single school across the country. It also has an impact on ACT and SAT testing as well. So with that, it's going to be really important for us to not rest on our laurels or just say like we're going to pick up when kids come back to school. I know here in Louisiana, we are very close to a decision being made around no school for the rest of the year. So we're kind of waiting on that happening. I know in a lot of other states and places, school may not continue this year. Definitely not.
And I'd love to see if there's anyone on here where, you personally have experience that school is going to be shut down for the remainder of the school year, or if you're hearing the same thing, we'd love to hear you weighing on that. So
yeah, absolutely. So for a school to wrap up February and that be the end of the school year is intense, and it can kind of be frightening in a lot of ways. One resource that we shared on our site was just a recommended schedule for elementary, middle school, and high school students that parents can be able to implement at home. It's so important as school leaders that we are providing our parents and our families with resources to the best of our ability so that kids are able to still continue with the learning. So my first tip to school leaders across the country has been to really make sure that our academic instruction is focusing on the core foundational skills for that particular grade level of students. At this time, it is probably not best for us to get too nuanced in standards because we want to teach our kids skills that are going to be helpful as they pick up for the next school year. It's also going to be important that our parents are able to support our kids to the best of their ability. So think about what the foundational skills are in reading. Main idea, understanding the comparing and contrasting text, like very foundational level skills. In math, if we're in fifth grade, maybe we're just working with fractions and decimals for the next 3 months, but don't overwhelm the system. Like figure out that one skill that kids are going to need to be really successful at before they move to the next grade. I think we have a couple of comments, so I would love to talk.
So we have also 23 based in Texas. He's saying schools are shut down until May 3rd. We have Mia Shameen providing distance learning at in Houston, and we've been told we're out of the building indefinitely. And so what do you all think? I'd love to hear from our audience. What do you all think about what Herneshia said in terms of like instruction and not necessarily overwhelming and overloading academic instruction, but more so just like focusing on those foundational skills that need to still be strengthened and that will get us, our students, still ready to pick up for the following school year. Would love to hear your thoughts on that. But Herneshia, it sounds like that was, that's obviously the whole school shutdown and the indefinite and what that means in terms of academic instruction is resonating with a lot of people. And
really, and I see you, Kim and Mia. Hi, Kim and Mia. Thanks. Yeah, so that would definitely be my suggestion. The tricky part is that every school is really doing something different in terms of remote learning. Some people are all in on Google Classrooms and virtual classrooms, and kids actually attend class at a specific time with their peers. They can see their peers on the screen and the teacher on the screen, and the teacher is delivering instruction that way. I talked to a leader yesterday that every week their teachers are going around dropping off hard copy packets to every kid in their school, which is intense, but awesome if your kids don't have access to Wi-Fi, which was their challenge. So I really am just admiring this. We do whatever it takes to make sure that the education and the learning of our kids is not stopped because of this pandemic that is happening right now.
Let me plug in here because I know that this is something that has come up a lot both in leader groups and in teacher groups. And it's all around like obviously people are moving away from tablets into virtual learning, folks are delivering computers on their ends and all of that. And so what's happening is with some schools, they're creating schedules where teachers have to teach long blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And there are other schools where virtual learning, they're sticking to the essence of virtual learning, which is like maybe a flipped classroom with some open classroom.
Yep.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that it really depends on the capabilities of students. I I lean more towards, and I've seen this model a couple of times, the option for kids to be a part of a virtual classroom, and that happening at least 1 to 2 times a week. But in general, the open learning really matches the needs of more families, right? Like, we can't predict the schedules of families at home, especially if they have little ones in daycare or they're taking care of an elder parent. So it's very difficult to say at 10 a.m. you have to be online at this time, because everything is in flux right now. So my recommendation would be to leave an optional opportunity for kids to be able to engage with their teacher and their friends and their peers, but to keep the learning pretty open based on everything that's happening right now.
And you're a parent yourself, so I know that you get it as well. Someone, E. Johnson said, I agree, we have to focus on a skill that will carry on as
Yeah.
opposed to like overloading the system. So that seems to be resonating for a lot of folks.
And I think so. Moving on to the second point is actually something that I saw Mia mention here, which was bringing the joy. And that has been my second suggestion to school leaders, is actually building community, right? Building community with families and students during this time, but also thinking about how you're building community with staff and how you're building community with your teachers that are now no longer engaging every day in the halls and giving high fives and meeting at the water cooler. It's going to be so critical that those teachers still feel invested in the work that is happening at your school. So if you have suggestions right now around how you've done that at your school, please share it so that we can voice that and make it public. But that has been a huge recommendation that I've had. I've seen a couple of schools do things like Friday virtual happy hours with their staff. So they're able to end the week in a celebratory way, to be able to celebrate the wins of the week. Everyone has their wine glass, they're playing music. That's just a great way to still feel connected with your teachers and your leaders during this time. And I'm seeing a lot of schools do check-ins at the very beginning of the week, and a couple of check-ins throughout the week with their teachers, where they say on Monday morning, here's our goal for the week. Here's how many students that we want to make sure that we're reaching out to individually. Here are priorities for the week. And then just doing 15-minute check-ins maybe on a Wednesday to be able to see where everyone is. So making sure you have those touch points and you're able to build community with your teachers is incredibly important right now.
Absolutely. So we have E. Johnson saying we're also focusing on SEL-based lessons. Any thoughts there? I think it's needed for our students.
Yeah, I think that is incredibly important. I would actually love to hear some of the thoughts that you have on that, Noemi.
Yeah. So I actually, I really believe in people first, right? And especially during this time for teachers, for students, for leaders, we have to put the oxygen mask on first. And there is a lot of emotions across the spectrum that are happening for our communities. And if we gloss over that and jump to instruction and to all these fancy schedules, and don't get me wrong, I believe learning never stops. It should not. Even if learning is focused on social emotional, on the social emotional part.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of trauma that is happening. I think the volume on, I'm not sure, it might be in your because the trauma that is happening for a lot of students, a lot of families right now is real. And if nothing is done to address that, and let's not forget our teachers as well, and our leaders who have so much change. With change comes a lot of anxiety, comes a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. What's going to happen with my job? So many different things. And so I think it is very very critical that we focus on SEL. It is still learning. It is part of us. And so to your point, Herneshia, I think things like Friday happy hour or check-ins, that gets to the socio-emotional part. It gets to the J factor. Even leaders, let me just say this because, and I'm just gonna like keep it short here. Checking in, I just need to like keep saying this again because I can't tell you how many leaders consider checking in with their staff, saying, hey, great job, or hey, thanks so much for doing that. And then follow it up with a list of all the expectations. By the way, don't forget, we have to do X, Y, and Z this whole week. Don't forget to do this at this time. And, like, that's not a check-in.
Yeah.
just a reminder that could be saved for an email. A check-in is as easy as, how are you feeling in this moment right now? What can I do to assist you? Is there anything that can be done? And actually hearing and taking that into account, even if you disagree with what they're saying.
Yep, absolutely. I love that. Authentic relationship building is so important. And a skill that I did not get right my first year as a school leader. And luckily I had a squad behind me that was like, we're going to do this better next year. And it was game changing. It was game changing for our school. I also want to offer a suggestion around one of the schools here in New Orleans that are doing culture sessions on Friday to build community with their students. So essentially a culture session in the real world when we were back at school would be where all of the kids in the grade level came together, and it would be highlights of the week. Similar to this staff only happy hour that's happening, they're able to highlight students that beasted social emotional learning or their character for that week. They're celebrated, special announcements are made, and there's always like a fun activity or game. So one school went virtual with that on Fridays, and we'll be talking about that a little bit more on IDEA next week. And they had so many students log into the virtual Friday cultural session last week. I can't wait to attend it this week. And the kids had on their class shirts, and they were singing and moving, and it was so incredible to still stay connected with your kids even during this time. So I definitely challenge all educators out there. Don't let this be an excuse to not stay connected with your kids and families. Find ways to be creative, innovative, and bring that joy even while they're at home. It really matters to them. It really does.
It absolutely does. That's such a great idea. Herneshia, there's also Rufin Neurolab. There should be a new structure of education, not based on age, but progression. Thoughts on that? He also commented, people will become islands if you don't check in. I agree.
Definitely agree. And there are models out there that exist. If you think about the Montessori, where it is focused on progression and not necessarily based on age. So I think that there are solid arguments on both sides of that. Hopefully we move to a place where we can be very innovative with our approach. I'm even thinking about my time as a school leader, where we had in our middle school this fifth grader that was beyond. I mean, she was eighth grade ready for sure. And because I was a school leader, I did have the opportunity to be able to put her in sixth and seventh grade ELA classes. She took algebra when she was in sixth grade. So some of those are going to be based off of, your individual school leader needs.
It's different too.
Absolutely.
As a parent, as an educational team, that's something to really talk about, and it's worth the conversation if that's something that you're thinking about.
Absolutely, definitely agree. The last tip that I would share around things to do during this time is to really, and this is a quick one, is to really lean in the moment of this crisis. Like it did not shock me or amaze me that a majority of the schools within our city and a majority of the schools that I support across the country were not prepared for any type of crisis like this, Noemi. So everyone was in a panic. Teachers were in a panic. Leaders were in a panic. I would say use this as an opportunity to actually build a crisis management plan. Imagine that something like this happens again in the future. What is going to happen from a budgetary standpoint, a staffing standpoint, an operations standpoint? Is there now a system or a platform that you would use for virtual learning in the future, but actually build out a couple of plans so that you're prepared if something like this happens in the future? Think about how you're being developed during this time as well. Do you have a coach? Do you have someone that's able to pour in you and support you if a crisis happens at your school as large as this, or something smaller, or something completely different? Just make sure that you have the resources in place and you're starting to think about that now.
Yes. Thank you so much, Herneshia, for bringing together all of those points, just around building community, ensuring that the socio-emotional part came up, making sure that we build culture with our staffs, and ensuring that we have the support that is needed right now, building out a crisis plan. Thank you for those golden nuggets. I think that each of us can walk away with. You are thebomb.com. We appreciate you being here with us. And if you missed the live IG Ed chat, it'll be up for the next 24 hours on our IG Live. Herneshia, you're the best. Thank you so much. Everyone, have a blessed day.
Thank you so much. Appreciate being here.
All right. Thanks, Herneshia. Herneshia.